Guys, welcome to Masha Schwartz Live. This is our live Surreabstract painting, and today we're going to be doing a really cool piece that I came across this week, which is a photo inspired by Pedro Salgado, and I am going to be improvising on this. I did some sketching earlier. I invite all of you to get your art materials and your creativity on board and join me for a creative session today. So for all of my Instagram followers, I'm going to share the photo with them separately. For everyone else, you'll see the photo in front of you so you can improvise live with me. And without further ado, let's get started, guys. A wave of inspiration. All right. So for those of you guys that are joining me on Facebook and on YouTube, this is who this was, the photo was inspired by. If you guys want to see the photo live on his channel, remember to visit him at SALGADOPK on Instagram. And you'll be able to see this photo and you'll be able to improvise with me. I've done a few sketches here and I'm going to use one of them for this piece today. And what I want to invite you guys to do, when I looked at this piece, let me share it with everyone here. When I looked at this piece, it really looked like an ocean wave of inspiration. And I am a huge fan of different adrenaline sports. So I love to try riskier stuff, and I love to have this like wave of inspiration all over me. And of course, when I looked at this piece, like this photograph, it automatically like screamed, you know, an experimentation on a boogie board or on, you know, a skateboard. And I'm not great with skateboards whatsoever, but when I looked at it, it just looked like this big ocean wave of fun. So that's kind of what I created and what we're going to be painting today. But I want you to create what you see in this picture as like your wave of inspiration or how this impacts you, and definitely bring that to life. Like whatever it is you see that really inspires you in this photo as you look at it. We're also going to be adding a couple men from my Little Man series at the end of the piece. These men are going to be having fun in the picture. So stay tuned till the end so you could see where those men are going to be added. All right, let's get started. Here's what I'd like everyone to do. I want you to take out your sketchbook. So if you have your sketchbook handy, you know, start sketching out some ideas. Again, for my Instagram followers, I want to show the photo one more time. Take a picture of it. Make sure that you have that for your inspiration. And if you guys are, you know, in your creative zone, I hope you are. Let's get those juices flowing. And in the meantime, you're gonna have, you know, 5 minutes or so to sketch your ideas out, whether on canvas or on paper. And I'm gonna be sketching mine on the canvas behind me. You can follow along. I'll bring the canvas a little closer. I'm having some challenges with technology yet another week, which is why we went a little bit later today. But I think I've configured everything, so next week we should be on time. Anyways, let's get started, guys, and have some fun. I hope all of you guys have some drinks. I have coffee. As you know, I'm a big coffee lover, so I have my coffee here, and I will be joining you in my creativity with coffee. By the way, I have a coffee fund, so if you want to donate some money to my coffee fund, feel free to do so. I always welcome any coffee donations. I go through lots of coffee. All right, so here we go. I hope everybody can see me. Let me just move this a little bit closer so you guys can see, and move this down. And then take this off. All right. Let's see, hopefully I'm not going to be blocking the camera here too much as I'm doing this. Cool. Let me see if I can, I don't know how well you guys can see this. It looks kind of light. I think it'll come to life a lot more in color once we start adding some color to this. So. This way. Cool. Actually, let me do this a little bit lower. There we go. Some of these lines are making a little more sense now. All right, cool. This one. Guys, remember, your movement has to come from your shoulder. So as you're doing bigger sketches, make sure that the movement for your art comes from your shoulder, right? And make sure that you guys are For those of you that don't remember from last week, you want to hold your pencil this way if you want to make smoother and more accurate sketches, right? More accurate shapes. If your hand is really steady, you can hold it this way, but usually this way you want to define your sketches, define your shapes. the bigger movements should be done with the pencil held over top, as such, right? And so this, go, and one more here. Do it this way. There we go. All right, cool. I'm pretty happy with this. Let's extend this out and create some of those waves. Actually here. Extend that here. I did the wrong one. I did the wrong one. It's okay. It happened. And this is mine. Now, some of these I may be adding at the end. You guys can really kind of improvise on what this looks like. Again, your sketch is just your sketch, right? It doesn't have to be anything like super accurate. It's just an idea for what your art is going to look like. But the true creativity comes when you start putting it on canvas. It comes when you start really putting it and making it into the composition that you'll finally paint, right? So as you guys are creating some of this, just keep that in mind and don't stress over kind of what your piece looks like on your sketch to make sure that everything looks exactly the same as you're bringing it to paper, from paper to canvas. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen some of the Japanese water art, but I love how simplistic it is and how much is just screams water, right? It's not as realistic, but it's super simple and it totally matches my style of painting. So when you are developing your style still, and when you are in that process of, okay, I need to figure out what my stuff is going to look like, I strongly recommend that you explore a couple different styles. Take a look at what other things look like. Take a look at what style matches yours and maybe implement some of those elements into your own style as you are painting certain things that you may not be typically painting or isn't your typical scene, right? So I always think that that's important and that that's something that we can work with, right? All right, I'm almost done here. I hope you guys are also working on your creations and that they're close to being done. Let me see, we'll look at them in a few minutes here. All right. guys start to get really good at sketching and really good at art, you don't necessarily need to always look on your canvas as you're doing sketches from your paper. So one of the techniques I don't necessarily use as often, but I learned it early on, is the blind hand drawing, which is basically looking at an object and sketching it live without looking at your canvas. As you do that more and more, it trains your hand to follow what your brain is thinking, and you can easily translate what's on your paper to the canvas almost perfectly without looking at the canvas. So I recommend that you guys try this technique as you are learning to sketch or as you are improving your sketches. It's awesome and it's super duper helpful. All right. Cool. This, actually, let me do this one this way. All right. So I'm pretty happy with this. And I think I am ready to paint. Do this one just a little bit bigger here. I like this way a little bigger. And I'd like this one smaller. Same space, but smaller. All right, cool. Definitely happy with this. I think this looks great. And I think this gives us a chance to paint. All right, awesome. For my painting, let me step this back for a sec here. For my painting, I use a styrofoam plate so I could throw it out afterwards. And I use that as my palette space. I recommend using either this, or you could use a piece of cardboard with some wax paper on it, so you could put paint on it and then just throw out the wax paper afterwards. I don't like cleaning out and cleaning off my palettes, so I don't really use the store-bought plastic pellets or metal pellets. But it's entirely up to you what you like to use. I just like to throw this out after I'm done. So it's cheap and easy, and the same thing with the cups. I just use a styrofoam, like a styrofoam cup or a plastic cup. All right, so for this piece, we are doing water and we are doing some gray for the skateboard space. And so I'm going to be using a light blue for the sky. I'm going to be using cerulean blue and light blue. I'm going to do a mixture. So here, I don't know if you guys could see, I use basics. I like some of my colors to be transparent. And for those of you that don't know, I don't use black, so I use Payne's Gray instead. It's a really dark color, but still rich enough when you put it on canvas. I'm also going to be using some, I am going to be using some gray, maybe. I definitely want to use white. And so I'm going to use titanium white. I am going to use titanium white. Let me see. Let's see here. Cobalt blue. Let me use cobalt blue. I'm going to use yellow green. If you guys don't have yellow green, just add blue and yellow together to create the lighter green by adding more yellow to your color. Okay? So, but I'm going to use that for part of my stylistic water. And I'm going to also use ultramarine blue for some of my water. And then some of the city I would like to paint in some of my city. I think I'm going to use either gray for that, or I might use some unbleached titanium for that. And I'm also going to add some portrait pink into this mix. So portrait pink matches really well with blue in combination, whether this blue or this blue, as you guys can see. And if you are looking at the original piece, there are some traces of it kind of like in the center here. So if you're looking at the original here, you could see that pink kind of shines through a little bit. So I'm not doing the city and everything as realistic as you see on the photo, but I am implementing my own style into it, and I welcome all of you guys to do the same. Because as we create, we don't want the picture to look like somebody else's picture. We're not trying to duplicate it. We're trying to create our own, and as part of creating our own, we need to add our own touch to that picture. So I'm going to be putting a little bit of all of these paints on my palette, and we'll get started with some painting. If you guys are new to my channel, please remember to subscribe below while I'm getting these paints. If you guys have any questions for me about what to paint first, how to improvise on painting, how to create anything that you guys are creating today, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the piece that we're creating today. I'd love to see what you create. So definitely post it in the comments once you guys are done and share it with everyone. My piece is going to be posted on my website just like last week. I've had it posted on Society Sticks and on Saatchi, but you guys can access it through the link in my channel. So feel free to stop by there and get either this piece or one of the other pieces that you might enjoy about my channel. So here's the link for my art, just in case you guys want to visit and purchase one of my pieces. I have a number of different prints happening, and I'm also getting into NFTs. So if you guys are interested about getting into NFTs, have questions, or if you are interested in some of my NFTs, collecting them, I will have some of those available next month. I partnered with a really cool musician, and I'll be sharing more about that, but I'll be expanding my Lady in Red series, and we'll be dropping some of those pieces for you guys on OpenSea. All right. So last week, when I tried to play some music while we did some painting, I got nicked for that by Instagram. So this week I am not doing that, and I'm sorry. You know, you guys were hoping for some music. I always listen to music as I create, and as I do this, it inspires me for the colors that I want to use and for the type of art that I want to create. And so if you guys are that way, I recommend listening to music as you paint. And I did that right before we started. I just listened to music that kind of really inspired me. So as I'm starting, I'm in the mode of kind of listening to those beats. All right. Very cool. I think I'm also going to use alizarin crimson for a little bit of red. And that should complete my color palette. I'm about to show you what that looks like. So this is my color palette for anyone that's other way interested. And let's get painting. Hey, Corey, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you subscribing. That's awesome. All right. Very, very cool. I'm going to figure out one of these days, I'm going to figure out a way to add some music so you guys can listen and paint with me and enjoy this as we do it live. But for now. Okay. Cool. Very cool. Okay, so a couple of notes on the brushes that I use. I use usually four to five brushes. I really don't go more than that. In my paintings, I use a larger brush for filling, this is size 1 inch, for filling larger areas in my sketches or on my canvas. I use a mid-size brush, which is a 3/4 of an inch, and a 1/2 inch brush. And then I like to use a round brush, and a lot of times thinner round brush. So I think this one is 2, this one's 1, for those of you guys can see it. All right, so there's just a few brushes that I use, and the smaller brushes are used for details. The larger brushes are used for larger areas. I usually fill in most of the larger areas and then go in and create details. Almost like paint by number, but with tasteful application and creativity, right? All right. Cool. So let me move this over. Let me go here and take this down so you guys can see. And let's see, let's do the other way here so you guys can see what I'm painting all together. All right, there we go. Good deal. All right, we're gonna start with the top and work our way down. The reason we do that is so that as we are working on this, if we start here, when you're doing the top, you are smudging the bottom with your hand. So you always want to kind of start at the top of your canvas. I forgot white. If you guys are just starting painting and you're looking to buy a bunch of materials, if you're looking to get started with painting, I don't recommend buying a lot of colors. Buy primary colors. I recommend buying cerulean and ultramarine blue. I recommend buying just primary yellow, primary red, alizarin crimson, which is a darker red hue. I recommend getting Payne's Gray, buff like parchment or unbleached titanium and white color. And that's pretty much about it. All the other colors you could really create with those colors, right? And as you expand your palette, as you start to paint a little bit more, I say, at that point, once you figure out what your color palette is for a lot of your paintings, then go to the store and purchase specific colors fit for that color palette. But until while you're still in the exploration phase, while you're still kind of like getting through and figuring out what you're doing, don't go and splurge on a whole bunch of colors because you don't know if you're going to be using them. They may look cool, but you don't know if you're actually going to use them in your art. And I typically like to paint and I like to see what colors I end up using before I go and buy a whole bunch of colors. Because it's just, you're going to mix colors, you're going to see how colors are created. And that's a cool part about painting, where you are exploring the colors. You're exploring how things are kind of fit together and how they come alive. And it's just something you can't replace. It's a process where you are really innovating with your colors palette, where you're really bringing those colors to life. You can't do that with two colors. You really can't. It's so hard. All right, so for those of you guys that are new or you're just getting your portfolios together, one of the recommendations that I always make to artists is you need to finish your pieces. And what that means is you need to either create color on the sides or paint your sides black or gray or some color that really finishes your artwork. So when you're painting, before your colors dry, especially if you are on a specific color and you just mix enough for just that specific area, make sure that you go through and you kind of finish the top of your canvas, the sides of your canvas in that color. You can always go back and color them black later, or a gray or another color if you want. But from the onset, your canvas is going to look totally finished by the time that you are done with your piece, if you do that with the end process in mind, right? So thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I really appreciate all of you. I'm trying to do more of these creativity sessions. I'm hoping they're going to help many of you guys become more creative and innovative in your paintings that you do. And hopefully bring some light to everyone's life as well. As you paint, don't be afraid to go over some areas where you may be going over lines, over on top of certain shapes that you've created. It's okay. I mean, you will go through and you'll fix it later, right? The first piece that you really want to accomplish is put the color on your page. Make sure that it's on there, that it speaks to the page, right? That it's kind of like making that move on your page. And once you have it up, you can always change it around. You can always play with it, make it different, bring some life to it in the way that you see fit, right? Guys, people always ask me, how long does my art take? The painting process doesn't necessarily take me very long. It depends on the intricacy of the piece. But creation of what it's going to look like, the idea behind it, actually takes a lot of time. And that's a big part of your painting, that idea creation, where you are deciding as an artist what the composition is going to be, what the piece is going to look like, where the lines are going to go, where the different conceptualizations are going to go. And that's something that's kind of hard to recreate, and something that's missed at times, I think, because we often think, oh, I see her paint this in like less than an hour, so why should I pay this much for the piece? But you're really paying for the process that I go through before this, and what I put into it in my thought process when I create the actual ideas for it. So my ideas sometimes take hours to create, and I go through numerous sketches, I go through numerous different variations of a piece before I land on, okay, this looks really good, right? And that's ultimately what we oftentimes pay for when we pay for artwork that artists create, because their skill level on the canvas can be superb. And oftentimes, you look at it and you're like, oh, this wasn't hard. I just saw them create it. And that was actually pretty easy, right? But what goes into the creation beforehand is often missed. So if you guys are approaching me, or if you're approaching another artist to do a commission piece for you, just keep that in mind, because a lot of times it is our time and it's very valuable. All right. I hope you guys are doing well with your sketches. Can't wait to see them. Remember to attach your final pieces below in the comments below. I'd love to see them. And of course, you guys will see mine in my shop later this week. I usually post them by Sunday. So if you guys are interested in this piece, or if you are interested in another piece, just watch out for the new pieces that I drop every Sunday on my channel. All right, for those of you that want to create a dual effect on these panels, if you're painting them, use half of your brush in a darker paint and half of your brush in a lighter paint. In this case, I used the parchment color, or that buff titanium. And what you'll do is, when you sketch it together, it'll blend together and create that nice look for you of dual color. So one more time, half, half, right? And we're gonna be adding that color in this nice wave and tying it in with the center color. So the whole purpose of using those two colors together here was not just to mix the gray, it was also to tie in the central color of my piece. Guys, notice I have not switched brushes yet, right? Still using the same brush as I've been using earlier, and I will be switching my brush in a little bit once I start to work on smaller areas here. But while I'm still working on these larger spaces, you also want to, if you have a line that goes straight up or kind of curved over, make sure that as you are painting, you're extending your hand all the way through so you don't have these weird marks on your canvas of where you started painting and stopped painting and then kind of continued. Because it's just, it looks really weird when you do that, right? So we want to avoid those areas too. Oh. So you never want to keep your coffee cup and your water cup in the same place, because sometimes you'll put your brush into your water cup, into your coffee cup. Always set them aside if you're drinking something while you're painting. All right. If you guys are new to NFTs and if you're looking to get into NFTs, I found an amazing community called NFT.tips, and they're here and on Clubhouse, and they're just helping artists who are new and looking to get into this. It's run by Alexei Maze, and he is just incredible, guys. I strongly recommend, this isn't a plug for him. This isn't like I don't get paid for any of this. It's just an amazing community of artists. They're so super supportive, and they have helped me so much in the last just 2 weeks to help get started with NFTs, help figure out what I want to bring to the NFT space, how I want to structure what I have on there. And I am happy to say that I'm bringing all of that to you next month. So definitely keep an eye out. I will have a lot of my NFTs available on OpenSea. Let me see here, so you guys can see. There we go. And I'll let you guys know when those are dropping and when a lot of my Lady in Red series is going to become available. Oh, I did this the other way. Oops. This is supposed to be light. This is supposed to be dark. All right, cool. All right, very good. Very neat. when you guys paint, if you use diagonal formations, like if you use diagonals in your art and you use the straight lines, they're gonna make your art more dynamic. And the same goes with the use of complementary colors. So as I'm bringing pink into this area, complemented by the blue diagonally, it makes the two colors pop more. So you always want to keep that in mind as you are selecting colors for your palette and as you are adding new colors to your canvas. And while the music may influence you to create in a certain way with a certain color scheme, you know, where the placement of your colors is oftentimes dictated by your composition and by how you combine the colors together. So keep in mind those compositions and how they're going to fit together on the canvas. The colors are going to react next to one another. Okay. All right. So extending the colors all the way. Very cool. By next week, I'm definitely going to figure out how to bring you guys some music so we're all jiving to something cool as we select the colors, as we kind of create in the space. I am definitely influenced by music for my creations, and this is a bit difficult without it. All right. Cool. Very good. Good deal. And then I'll bring a little bit more of that into the down low space here. So. I hope you guys are joining me live and painting with me. Remember to extend your colors to the sides of the canvas. You always want to do that. You never want to miss a chance to make your canvas complete. If you guys use too much water in your paint, it may dry and flake over time. Make sure that your paint is pretty solid, and make sure that it has enough structure to it. And if you have to do two passes over your paint, do that. Don't let your paint become too thin and crack when your canvas sits in the heat area. I'm out here in Florida, so that's very likely out here, right? You can also preserve your canvas with resin. You can also preserve your canvas with spray paint that kind of keeps it intact afterwards. I mean, there are a number of different ways to kind of preserve that canvas. But in general, just keep in mind that if you are using a lighter, thinner coat on your canvas, that the paint could crack and you may need to go back through and repaint it. There's no way to repair paint for acrylics. For oils can actually be repaired, but for acrylics, it's really hard to repaint it the same way. And it's costly, to be honest. Like, to get a person to repair this for you, if your painting starts to crack, all right, so we're getting close to finishing this portion. going to go and add some colors to the other side. Yay, this is coming along. It's coming together, guys. You guys are just joining me. We are creating a wave of emotions here, like a wave of excitement. And it's based on this piece by Pedro Salgado. For those of you on Instagram, you guys obviously see it and you see what we're doing. But for everyone else, just wanted to kind of share it again. So those of you that are joining can kind of see it here and see what the inspiration for this piece was. And where a lot of this is coming. Cool. When I do creativity right on a canvas, one of the things I like to do is turn my canvas around and just see what comes out of it. You know, sometimes the piece looks really cool upside down and you don't even know that that may be the orientation you decide to take your artwork in. And it's kind of cool. I mean, with abstract art and with Surreabstract art, there's so many ways that you can work with your art and with your paint that the upside down piece could appear pretty damn awesome when you are painting and when you're bringing those colors to life. And I definitely like to look at my art that way when I paint as well. And it gives me an opportunity to touch up some of those sides and really complete my art from all angles, right? All right, cool. Okay, I can't see it. Sorry, I'm gonna lower this so I can see where I'm painting because I am short. Alrighty. Yay. All right, cool. All right, very cool. So that's actually here, and then the other part is going to be in another color, and then that's going to be in gray as well. So let me add some like this. Yay, and gray here. We're gonna get that slightly lighter because I want this corner to give me the illusion of fading out a little bit more and maybe even bring some of that lighter color in here. So it gives some space to my painting. You guys never want to crowd your painting with a lot of dark colors. You always want to let your paint breathe a little bit and give that nice illusion of space in your art. All right, cool. Oh, I don't want this to be that. Cool. All right, very cool. All right, next we're going to work on blue and the waves. And I shared this tip last time, but I'll share it again. If you guys messed up on an area of your canvas, just dip your paper towel into water and gently wipe it off. If you had some paint already on the canvas and then you added paint and it wasn't like you wanted to, be careful. Make sure the paint underneath has dried completely, and then you'll be able to wipe off the new paint from the top. But again, don't soak your paper towel, just put a little bit of water on it and gently take off the wrong paint. Okay? All right. Let's see. Let's work on this side first so we can complete this bottom portion, and then we'll do the other side. All right, for this, I'm going to be using these two colors as an extension of this. And this is my ocean. It's part of my ocean wave. So make sure that you color the sides in and make sure that's in the color that you want. I really want to bring the darker colors up to the lighter colors here and finish with white waves, or, kind of like maybe darker waves, but I want to do it dark to light because this area here is darker, so I want to carry some of that upward, but I want this area to be lighter and give my painting some room to breathe. So again, I'm using the dual colors on my brush, the lighter blue and the darker blue, and I'm creating some of those lines that you saw me paint in here without going in and recreating them, right? I'm just creating them with the dual color brush because that's already there and I don't have to create anything extra as I carry out my brush strokes. I am using the cerulean blue and the ultramarine blue for this. So for those of you guys that are following along and want to create similar effects, those are the two colors that we're using. And we're extending them all the way, right? All the way out. All right, cool. Cool. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you have any comments, if you want to share anything, please do. I always welcome all feedback, and I love to hear what you guys have to think about this piece, what you have to say about my other pieces. This piece will be available on Sunday in my shop, and I do these sessions every Friday. Try to do them at 3 p.m. We've been delayed a few times now, but I can't predict the technical difficulties that I'll run into sometimes, so I try my best. And one of these days we are going to start on time and I'll be ready, but that wasn't today. Okay. All right, so right here you see that my blue went a little further over the gray. I don't like that. I don't want to go and fix the gray later. So I'm just going to fix the blue now with a little bit of a paper towel. And here we are getting into the details. So as we get into the details, I'm going to take a different brush for that. All right. I'm a shorty, so can't reach some of this top stuff. I'm going to take this canvas down and do this a little bit lower here so I can see. All right. Complete your canvas size, guys. Always, always, always. I can't stress this enough. It's going to save you a world of time when you have to go and do this later. Just so much time saved. All right, so let's turn this over, see how this looks. And you can always go in and fix some of these gaps here, right? If you're painting upside down, you can't see what it looks like, you're not happy with the end result once you turn it over, go through and fix some things. Go through and add a second coat. I mean, it's your opportunity to really create it your own and make it your own. Yeah. So this is our wave of excitement, and I hope to see yours. Oh my goodness. Not sure. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I lost you there for a sec. Okay. So next I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch brush here. And I am going to add some more of this water on this side, and I will add, actually not a dark blue. I'm going to do the water in light color. Right. And so what I'm doing is I'm still taking two colors, and I'm using the wrong color on the wrong side. I'm using the darker color on my, this side, and lighter color on this side. And what that allows me to do is create some of these darker lines on the outside of my curve. All right, so watch what happens. See how that works out? So that automatically creates your wave for you. And then I want to go back in and create the lighter color inside. And when your paint is still wet, you can mix those colors right on your canvas. So you don't have to worry about how they're going to look, because they're going to mix well. They're not just going to look like a brush stroke. If your paint has started to dry, you are not going to be able to achieve the same effect. So just keep that in mind. And make sure that you remember that while your paint is still wet, you can achieve some of those cool effects. And when it's dry, you're not going to be able to. You're still going to see those brush strokes, right? A little bit more. So I wanted to alternate some of my colors here, and I wanted to create some darker shades and some lighter shades with these waves. And I wanted to drive some of the white color that we've noticed in the water waves in here as I'm creating these curls. All right, let me see here, light and dark. When you guys are creating these, you want to start with the ones on the bottom first and carry them through, and then do the ones on top, so it makes sense for when you are bringing those waves in, right? This is part of the reason we didn't care if the gray was pushed up, because we always paint over it, so it didn't matter to us if it was extended into the waves. But we do care if we start the waves first and then come in and paint the gray around it, because then we have to be more careful about painting the gray in between all of the waves that we create. But bringing it in first and then adding the waves makes it so much easier. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate all of you. And I'm sorry if I'm missing some comments over here. Thanks, RJ. Thank you, thank you. So this is again, this is my Surreabstract Creativity Hour, and I really hope all of you guys are able to join me next time. I do this every week. I started doing them every Friday at 3 p.m. So if you guys want to paint with me, if you want to join me for these, just bring your art and join me for Creativity Live. You don't have to paint exactly what I'm painting. I actually hope you don't. I hope you paint what you come up with and the things that make sense to you, because as artists, we don't want to copy somebody else. We want to create our own. So I do welcome all of you to painting creativity, and I hope that you guys become more creative as part of these live sessions so that I can see your creativity from the same concepts and the same ideas that I bring to the table, right? And it's just so cool. Like I used to do this with younger kids years ago, and we used to get these creativity time and creativity hours. And some days we'd paint a specific piece, and other days would just like go crazy, being creative and doing all kinds of painting, and it was neat. Everybody came up with their own stuff, and everybody's painting looked very different. I mean, that's ultimately where you want to be. That's ultimately what you want to do. You want to kind of invite that creativity strike and make it your own, make it interesting, make it yours, right? It's just super important. All right, so I want to paint, for this area here, I really want to carry out the color a little bit further and then bring in the waves. So I have a little bit more color brought here. Because as I did some of these, I realized that I did them too early and the colors didn't mix well. So add these in. We're going to go over and fix some of those waves again so that we have a nicer touch to some of these lower waves. All right, cool. So I'm just using a broad brush to create the undercolor, and then we'll come in and create the curls. All right. Cool. So a lot of that was brought over, and then I'll do some of these waves here. But let me make sure that all your sides are painted, right? Mine are not quite done here, so I'm gonna touch up mine over here before I do that. And cool. Good. And then here, well, let me step out of the way here, sorry. Wanted that lighter color scheme. All right. All right. Let me see here. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, everyone. I had some technical difficulties with my Instagram account, it looks like. All right. Sorry, not sure what happened. Anyways, hopefully it comes on live again for them. But for everyone else, we are still here. We're still painting, and I'm adding some of these lighter colors to complement my waves. And I'm carrying those out to the sides here. And now as I'm doing some of this, I'm also going to be bringing some of these lighter colors into the bottom. For these more dramatic effects. All right, cool. And we're going to be doing a side color and of lighter color here as we are doing these waves. All right, so I want to do this here. I want to do this color here, right? And I want to do this one here. All right. So I'm bringing them out to the sides. Make sure my sides are finished, right? And then I'm doing that same thing here. All right. So with some of this. And I want to actually invite a little bit of white in this space.